Uh, as in going heavy, like you're lifting.
Yeah. Lifting heavy, focusing more on legs this time. Like, we try to do it right this time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So there's this protest.
What is this Demokratia?
Demokratia is democracy in the Hebrew language. Eliezer ben Yehuda decided that he was gonna make a colloquial language and for people in Israel to speak, and so half of the words he decided are gonna be like,
just freaking German and Russian.
Yeah, just add like "ia" to it. Ia. Just turn people into like.
And why did he
goats.
choose that damn R? You know what? I want to start live streaming this before we continue this conversation.
Wait,
I'm going to repeat my question to you, and you'll answer again.
We're on.
Oh, why don't you ever tell me, bro?
Sorry.
This is like how it's always been. This is how it started.
I'm sorry.
Where basically, you didn't even tell me it was being recorded.
I'm sorry.
So I'll say it again. Why the hell did Eliezer ben Yehuda choose that sound for the R that Israelis make?
What
Explain
sound?
this to me.
This kartavit thing, as we call it in Russian.
Yeah, this French R.
Honestly, I don't.
It makes me want to, like,
the rage.
The attempt at making that sound makes me want to blow chunks.
Yeah.
Why would they do that? What the? Yeah, I want to take him by the face and be like, what? What are you trying to be French, you asshole?
Yeah.
What is this?
I don't know.
This is
no. I think it's just what came out. I think it's just what came out. What?
No. I mean, it's like everybody's trying to do it. Like even like Americans and people who are learning like modern Hebrew, right?
Yeah.
It's like this is what they're trying to attempt. They're trying to accomplish this thing. I can't stand it.
There might be something from, I don't know. Is there like a historical?
This is something I've never. This is something that I should have investigated, because it bothers me to such an extent. You'd think I'd investigate it, but I don't know who to ask.
Yeah.
Although, what's interesting is that Eliezer ben Yehuda, this is a guy, for the folks at home, who I don't know why he thought he needed to create a modern Hebrew.
I mean, because there's just a lot of words in conversation that they don't come up in the Torah, in the Chumash. So like, there's no such word for psychologia in the Torah.
Okay, so just use words. Use like whatever the most spoken language in the world is. English, television, televizia.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah. I mean, so what are we supposed to call it?
Technologia. Like it's
what are we supposed to call it then?
Look, we have a language. It's the oldest language on earth.
Okay.
And it's the best known language on earth. Okay. It's hold on. It's the most studied language on earth. And with I'm talking about biblical Hebrew, folks, by Jews. Okay, it's been preserved to perfection. And then this guy decides, who's not religious.
Yeah.
Some say pretty anti-religious. This guy in the early 1900s, he decided to modernize it and just add a bunch of annoying European words into it, and then call it modern Hebrew. Okay.
Can I read about this guy? A little background.
Yeah. That sound for the R. I think that's if you didn't make that damn sound for the R, I probably wouldn't be saying what I'm saying right now. But it's a peeve,
Yeah. So basically,
say R.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, this guy, his name was actually Eliezer Yitzhak Perlman. Lived from 1858 till 1920, December 1922. Was a Hebrew linguist, grammarian, and journalist, renowned as a lexicographer of the first Hebrew dictionary and the editor of Hatzvi, one of the first Hebrew newspapers published in the land of Israel. He was the main driving force behind the revival of the Hebrew language. He was born in Luzhki, that's Belarusian, in the Vilnius Governorate of the Russian Empire. His native language was Yiddish. He attended a Jewish elementary school, or Heder, where he studied Hebrew and the Bible from age of 3, as was customary among the Jews of Eastern Europe. By the age of 12, he had read large portions of the Torah, Mishnah, and Talmud. His mother and uncle hoped he would become a rabbi and sent him to a yeshiva. There he was exposed to the Hebrew of the Jewish Enlightenment, which included some secular writings. Later, he learned French, German, and Russian and was sent to Dunaburg for further education. Reading the Hebrew language newspaper Hashachar, he became acquainted with the early movement of Zionism. I'm just going through. He was at Sorbonne. In Paris, he met a Jew from Jerusalem who spoke Hebrew with him. It was this conversation that convinced him that the revival of Hebrew as the language of a nation was feasible. He joined the first Aliyah movement, etc. Okay. Motivated by the surrounding ideals of renovation and rejection of the diaspora lifestyle, Ben Yehuda set out to develop a new language that could replace Yiddish and other regional dialects as a means of everyday communication between Jews who moved to the land of Israel from various regions of the world. Ben Yehuda regarded Hebrew and Zionism as symbiotic, writing, "The Hebrew language can live only if we revive the nation and return it to the fatherland." Just 1 second, man.
Lock the door.
No, I feel like something's about to happen.
Wait, hold on. I asked you a question. Did you lock the door?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's it. You don't have to like.
That's why I said I feel like
you said no. I just felt like something was about to happen.
I felt like something was about to happen. Yeah, I didn't say no.
So no, but the correct answer is yes. I locked the door because I felt like something was about to happen.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Choose Fanatics.
As an accomplished journalist and author in her own right, ensuring the completion of the Hebrew dictionary. So the question is, it says opposition. Many devoted Jews of the time did not appreciate Ben Yehuda's efforts to resurrect the Hebrew language. They believed that Hebrew, which they learned as a biblical language, should not be used to discuss mundane and non-holy things. Others thought his son would grow up to be a disabled idiot. And even Theodor Herzl declared after meeting Ben Yehuda that he thought that the thought of Hebrew becoming a modern language of the Jews was ridiculous. In December 1893, Ben Yehuda and his father-in-law were imprisoned by the Ottoman authorities in Jerusalem following accusations by members of the Jewish community that they were inciting rebellion against the government, against the Ottoman government. It says he was the editor of several Hebrew language newspapers, Hatzvi and Hashkafa, like philosophy. Hatzvi was closed down for a year in the wake of opposition from Jerusalem's ultra-Orthodox community, which fiercely objected to the use of Hebrew, their holy tongue, for everyday conversation. In 1908, its name changed to Ha'or, the light, and it was shut down by the Ottoman government during World War I due to its support for Jewish homeland and the land of Israel, Palestine.
Can I stop you for a moment?
Yeah.
You see how the statements that they make are so loaded, and they put things in proximity to each other that aren't supposed to trick you.
Yeah.
Okay? So, like, one group was saying, well, wait a minute, you don't need to add all these words. We already have a language.
Yeah.
That the other group was saying, well, hold on a second. We shouldn't be using the holy language for mundane talk. And then the third guy was saying, Herzl, saying it's ridiculous that to revive Hebrew as a modern language of the Jews. Those statements put together, that's a kind of magic. That's a Gnostic magic.
Yeah.
That to make you think along certain lines that all those things are associated with each other. They're not.
Yeah.
But that aside, it shouldn't have been an issue because we already had a Jewish language which can be used for mundane matters that already had words, right?
Yeah.
It's called Yiddish. Yiddish for all the words that the biblical Hebrew didn't like, whatever. What is television in Yiddish? They had a word for it. All right, whatever that word was, just go ahead and keep using it.
Let me read about how he came up with it talks about like the whole linguistics thing.
I don't like reading. I just like assuming and then moving on. Okay. All right, continue.
I'm just interested in this. It's interesting. We keep hearing. I'll tell you something, man. When people make Aliyah, like when I made Aliyah, there's this whole thing of like, oh, you meet up with other Olim, you meet up other people who. Thank you.
While you're reading, I'll do my My shoulders.
you meet up with other people who make aliyah. You go to events, you go to these different things, and there's like this kind of spirit of kind of Zionism, spirit of like, oh, everybody made aliyah, and like, it's like this whole thing. And you hear about Eliezer ben Yehuda, you hear about Herzl, you hear about all these people, you hear these stories, and everything is like glossed over. It's doesn't really go in depth. You hear about Ben Gurion, you hear about Herzl, you hear about Ben Yehuda, you hear about these people. Nothing ever goes in depth. Everything is glossed over. The only way you go in depth is if you do it yourself, or you go to some class, like a special class about, and even then, the person giving over the class has to, they have their own brand of whatever the Israeli government gave over to them that they're supposed to say.
Yeah, but the reality is like the following. I think we talked about it before, where immigrants from the old country, when they heard about New York or America, there was a common thing: the streets are paved with gold.
Yeah.
When they got there, they realized not only were the streets not paved with gold, the streets weren't paved at all, and in fact, they were going to pave the streets.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to be when we discover the reality about the people we're about to find out about.
Yeah. So here it goes. Ben Yehuda was a major figure in the establishment of the Committee of the Hebrew Language, Vad Halashon. Later, the Academy of the Hebrew Language, an organization that still existed today. He was the initiator of the first modern Hebrew dictionary known as Ben Yehuda Dictionary, the Ben Yehuda Dictionary. He became known as the reviver, Mechia, like Mechaya Metim, of the Hebrew language, despite opposition to some of the words he coined. Many of these words have become part of the language, but others have never caught on. Ancient languages in modern standard Arabic were major sources for Ben Yehuda and the committee. According to Joshua Blau, quoting the criteria insisted on by Ben Yehuda, in order to supplement the deficiency of the Hebrew language, the committee coins words according to the rules of grammar and linguistic analogy from Semitic roots, Aramaic, Canaanite, Egyptian ones, and especially from Arabic roots. Concerning Arabic, Ben Yehuda maintained, and accurately, according to Blau, that Arabic roots are ours. The roots of Arabic were once part of the Hebrew language, lost, and now we have found them again. This talks about his life. It says, in his book, Was Hebrew Ever a Dead Language? Cecil Roth summed up Ben Yehuda's contribution to the Hebrew language. Before Ben Yehuda, Jews could speak Hebrew. After him, they did. This comment reflects the fact that there are no other examples of a natural language without any native speakers, subsequently acquiring several million native speakers.
Can I stop? I keep hearing.
It's one more sentence. And no other examples of a sacred language becoming a national language with millions of quote unquote first language speakers.
Okay, so my that was a very important statement, by the way. Thank you. But basically, we've had rabbis write books in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Since for all of history until modern times, like literally written in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Like, famously, the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto.
Yeah.
It was written in Hebrew, understood in Hebrew. It was read in Hebrew. Like, what? See, that's what led me to the confusion. Like, there's no problem in using that. If you decide to use that language, that religious Jews spend literally all day reading and studying, literally reading each other, repeating each other. There's literally no reason why it couldn't become a spoken language at all. Like it makes very little sense to me, And I think that the reason why, in my view, why they went through the whole trouble with Ben Yehuda and all these guys to secularize it is specifically for that reason.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to go the route of using the language that's been used by the rabbis this whole time. Because there's a holiness to it. They wanted to suck out the holiness. It's the error.
I think you're right. The only thing I will say again, I mean, there's even in this forum, in the books, again, you at some point with new objects coming into play, you were going to have to come up words for these objects. I mean, you said there is a word in Yiddish for television and psychology and whatever, Demokratia, whatever it is. But in Hebrew, there was no word. There is no word.
Okay, so call it Sally, Barbara Ann. Who cares? What, you don't have to. You know what I mean? Like Jews have spoken Hebrew, but they've also spoken every other language wherever they came from. Okay. You know.
Hey, we're just saying it just has to sound like it makes sense. You know what I mean? Like
it has. It's almost like, you know how like when comedians who don't know how to speak Spanish,
yeah,
they want to pretend like they speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Right. So that they'll say that El Hayo. They don't know how to say hello in Spanish. So they'll say. So you think if you put the word El in beginning in the beginning
and
O
at the end,
O at the end, the letter O. That now you're speaking.
But that's what it sounds like. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
That's what I don't see this as some kind of major contribution to the Hebrew language. I don't understand this.
Yeah, it's true. Or what he did was, you know what he did? He took certain words in the Torah or in the Sfarim that mean these lofty things, and he made those words mundane in regular Hebrew parlance. You know, he took like I don't know, like even like Kabbalistic terms that are like regular words in Hebrew. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but I know for a fact like that. This is something that was done.
How do you say glasses? Mishkafayim, right?
Mishkafayim, yeah.
That's actually okay. I like that one because it comes from the word hashkafa.
Yeah.
Which means philosophy.
A lot of Hebrew, or even the modern Hebrew, is something where, it's not like Hebrew is a language, like English, for example. The English is called something called a labeling language. What is a table? The word for table is like the word for the thing that you use to write is table. What the hell table means? Nobody knows.
It's arbitrary, right?
Yeah, it's arbitrary. In Hebrew, it's like it tells you what the thing does.
Yeah.
Machshev, a computer. It thinks. Machshava is a thought. Right. It thinks. It's a machine that thinks, does, calculates, whatever. Machshev.
No, that's fine. Some of these innovations they make sense wherever possible.
A car is mechonit. It's mechanical.
Well, I thought machonit comes from. I think that comes from not the Hebrew. It comes from because it sounds mechanical, like mechanic.
Yeah. It's also auto. You could say auto.
Makonika.
Well, it's also auto. You could say auto.
Auto. Yeah. Just say Merkava.
Tank.
No, that's what they call. That's what they ended up calling it. Merkava just means chariot.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just call? They should call that a car, right?
You know what they call a tank? A tank.
I know. So, but the word, your transportation device is your car. You can call that a Merkava. Why not?
Yeah. A train is a rakevet, like.
Because you ride on it. That's related to Merkava.
Yeah. It's really a ladder, like rakevet. Technically speaking.
What do you mean?
It can also mean ladder.
In what? In modern Hebrew?
Well, there's sulam.
Sulam is the word.
Eskala, and then rakevet. There's like three different ways to say ladder.
In modern Hebrew.
Yeah.
Okay, so eskala obviously comes from escalator.
Yes. And sulam is sulam, like bar.
Rakevet doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Sulam makes sense. That's our classical word for ladder.
Yeah.
They knew they had ladders back in the day. Yeah. They knew what a ladder was.
Sulam also could be a scale, by the way.
A what?
A scale.
Okay, that's a related idea.
Yeah.
Those are related ideas.
It's just interesting, what they did. So, yeah, man. So today there was this guy Simcha Rothman, the guy who was initiating, the judicial reform.
Actually, no, I didn't know. Like, you were talking to me like as if I was aware. I had never heard his name.
There's a guy. I mean, I think I mentioned him to you before. Like, there's a guy by the name of Simcha Rothman.
I don't listen. Continue.
Wonderful. His name is Simcha Rothman. He lives in a town in Judea called Pnei Kedem. And he's a lawyer, and he's an MK. He's a member of the Knesset. And he's the guy basically pushing this judicial reform in Israel. I met him. He's a good guy. And He means well, and he came to speak in Teaneck to Orthodox congregation in Teaneck. I guess some Israelis, I'm assuming they're from here, from this area, got wind of this. Some like lefty, and there's a big protest there. My friends went out there and they took.
Why do you assume it's Israelis that organizes protests?
It is Israelis.
How do you know?
I know for a fact. I looked up who it was. I know for a fact it's Israelis.
Okay, so maybe it was the organizer was an Israeli, but who are the bulk of?
It's a bunch of Israelis. My friend and his parents went there. It's a bunch of. Do
we have enough lefty Israelis here to organize a protest?
Yes, dude. There's a ton.
Yeah.
Dude, go to Tenafly alone. It's a bunch of these high tech Yerida people who like left Israel.
Where is Tenafly?
It's in Jersey, Bergen County.
Oh, okay.
And it's right next door to Teaneck, dude.
Dude, do you need some Selsun Blue?
I do, yeah. I do, yeah. It's terrible. I was talking to a friend. They're like, don't use it because it's chemicals. I'm like, well, you know what? Sometimes you got to get out the chemicals and break out the chemicals. And
I think it's psychological. You just got off a plane. You're like,
no. I was even back where I was kind of scratching a little bit, itchy and scratchy. But anyway. There was this protest, and they were screaming "Demokratia, Demokratia, Demokratia." Busha, shame, shame, shame. It's just astounding to me. Like, these people have spent the last 40 years actually usurping democracy. Being in total and complete control of the Israeli government. Now they lost. To the point where, how badly they lost? Now they're complaining that, the Supreme Court is not going to be, in their control anymore, and it's not going to be a thing that legislates from the bench and makes up laws as it goes along. But apart from that, the reform movement, there was a lecture by one of the heads of the reform movement in America saying that they need to revamp their whole, mission statement, the reform movement. And it has to include Israel, and it has to, they have to start caring about Israel. They have to talk about Israel, and they have to, basically make aliyah, because they see that, like, Israel's being taken over by right-wing crazies. They see that they're not allowed to have, unlike in America, they're not allowed to have absentee ballots. If they live outside of Israel, they can't vote. Nobody can vote. And now they realize, okay, so we're going to make aliyah, and we're going to, So they didn't say, like, we have to stop the Arabs from killing us. They didn't say we have to, I don't know, settle the land. We have to make aliyah.
Can I tell you something right now?
Yeah.
This whole idea of Mashiach ben Yosef is very, 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 very important for this particular episode and for what's going on in Israel. Because, I've learned all these ideas that Mashiach ben Yosef works clandestinely.
Yeah.
Right? Mashiach, the son of David, ben David, he shows up, but it's not clandestine. But Mashiach ben Yosef works mostly clandestinely.
Yeah.
And, it just sometimes, I suspect that some of these things that I find so infuriating, he's behind it.
Could be.
And then, like, for instance, like activating the crazy lefties, to jump around. And then now all the shitty lefties want to make aliyah to Israel and make Israel much shittier.
Yeah.
Right? I would send these people, I'd kick them out of airlock, I'd send them on a rocket and kick them out of an airlock, let them float away. Okay. Yeah. But apparently God cares about them too. Okay. And Mashiach ben Yosef would have to figure out a way to trick them into making aliyah to Israel, just to get them there.
Yeah.
And he does stuff like this. And it occurs to me, I understand the brothers and why they wanted to kill Joseph, and he must have been infuriating.
Yeah.
Nobody ever talks about that, how annoying he was and how absolutely infuriating he made. Like, he must have been absolutely intolerable.
Of course. How is this connected to these people?
Because because the orchestrating, like let's say Mashiach ben Yosef is working clandestinely, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's orchestrating this whole judicial reform, and many people listening to us, well, I don't know, is anybody listening to us? Whoever's listening to us
people
may not know what the hell we're talking about, so I'm gonna have to go back in a second. But basically, he might be orchestrating this whole thing to enrage the left, and part of the reason is to get the stupid retard enraged left here to actually go to Israel. That's one of the ways that the Messiah is supposed to gather the Jews, right? Yeah, you need to give them the right motivation, or else they're not going to do it. You gotta infuriate them.
Yeah. But the question is, do we want the meaning? It's you're talking about the left, but I mean, you're talking about a good part of them is Erev Rav. So do we want the Erev Rav?
Yeah, I don't want Erev Rav, but God does. Otherwise, He wouldn't be messing with them.
The question is why? What the hell does He need them for?
Okay, so
why would God create a situation where people do the golden calf yet again?
Okay, we were actually reading about this. We had a whole book about the Erev Rav where we encountered some of these ideas.
Yeah.
So it is the following. It's gonna take me about. I'm gonna need like at least 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right. Hold on. My cat is trying to get in here and won't let me concentrate. Okay, Squeaky, come on in.
Can you see me, even though like with a blurred background?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just kind of slow, right?
See this little? Oh my
God. I'm kind of pixelated though, right?
Maybe just in the silhouette, but like
Yeah.
Maybe we don't get the full breathtaking, experience of your hairstyle. But
wonderful.
Yeah.
You mean like I look like I just woke up? Yeah.
No. Oh,
let's see.
Excuse me, Squeaky. Don't bite me, okay?
Yep.
All right. So basically, part of the reason that God created this world, I'm trying to remember. I'm not getting really dramatic and closing my eyes. It just helps me to remember sometimes. Mm-hmm. So part of the reason for God creating this world is He wants a relationship, right, with beings that He created. Okay, that's another way of saying that is God is growing conscious beings, developing beings other than Himself.
Yeah.
Growing them, developing their consciousness. You could think, you could use a metaphor like God's like a farmer. Like He grows oranges. Each orange is one of these consciousnesses, right?
Yeah. And
when you're starting out, it might take a few tries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes the first crop, now, this metaphor is not perfect because God doesn't make mistakes, because even when the first crop doesn't turn out ideal, that's part of the process. Like that's already like God programmed. That's part of the way that the crop is ultimately developed, right? Yeah. It goes through stages. So the world, when Adam showed up, was very old, very, very, very old. Lots of things went on way before Adam, and I know the way it's taught to us. If you're a literalist, right, where you expect that the first 6 days of creation were literally 6 days like you're experiencing, then this is not for you. Okay, although they really were 6 24-hour days, but those 24-hour didn't feel like the 24 hours that we experienced.
Yeah.
The amount of things that occurred during each day was different. Each day felt like a whole bunch of a different experience of time, even though they technically were 6 24-hour days. Okay. So there were many, many cycles of history that occurred before Adam. Okay, and there were previous species. We've talked about it. Bart Sadok writes about it all the time, right? Previous species were the Nachash. That was the main species here on Earth, right?
Yeah.
And Adam came to be the Messiah. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a big universe that he was. Okay, so there's lots of species. Each one of those species is a conscious entity. Those previous species, which were, the main species of consciousness, right, in this world, today we have a general name for them. We call them demons.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not meant to be understood the way Christians understand. This word demons is not even the right word. We're talking about shedim. Shedim are these creatures that existed prior. It's just a general word, seemingly, for creatures that existed prior to Adam showing up and the civilizations which they were a part of. Okay. So when Adam showed up, he wasn't supposed to intermingle with them. Right? He was a separate type of entity. He was the human being. He was Adam. Adam is itself. It's not just his name. It's the name of a species of consciousness. Okay, that's human beings. Okay,
yeah.
And he was sent to help the Nachash, previous civilization, but not become them and not mix with them. Okay, so that's why when you look at the verses in the Torah, it says, "In his, flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone, right? Bone of my." I forgot the exact. And then when he made children, right, like when it spoke about Seth, and this one was in his image, right, in his likeness, but he had other children before that too. Okay, so, well, his first children are talked about Cain and Hevel. That's Cain and Abel. Okay, and we know what happened. We know, everybody knows the story. So after Cain killed Abel, our tradition tells us that he separated from his wife Chava, or Eve, for 130 years. When Cain had killed Abel, Adam, their father, separated from their mother Eve for 130 years. Okay, and during that time, our tradition says that he had relationships with the beings, with members of the beings that were already on Earth, that existed prior. Okay.
Yeah.
They look like us, folks. They look like us. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference in the body necessarily. Okay, they were very, very similar. If you were sitting on the bus, it might be very difficult to tell the difference between the type of person that existed before Adam showed up and after. And the main difference between us and them is our souls, our consciousness. Okay. So these beings existed before Adam showed up, and Adam came to be their Messiah. Well, why did they need a Messiah if they weren't important? Obviously, God cared something about them, right? They're part of his project, right? They were intelligent, right? They had consciousness. They were advanced, right? So God cared about having a relationship with them. Obviously, he wouldn't create them and make them go through a process of, development and then destruction and then salvation and all this kind of stuff. So obviously he's growing consciousness, or this world is like consciousness school, okay, where you develop yourself. Okay, and then once you get to a certain stage, that's like close to the end of your development, it's a critical stage. It's kind of like a make or break. Are you gonna make it through the semester, or are you gonna fail out? And then you get Adam, or the Messiah, to come and carry you through, help you out. That was kind of the idea, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So these consciousnesses. Okay. So Adam. So just going forward in time a little bit. So Adam ate from the tree. He screwed up, and then Cain and Abel, and then Cain killed Abel, and then very traumatic. Adam and Eve had separated. And then during that time, Adam was having relationships with two of the species, the local species. and Eve apparently was also. And the offspring that they had, and many offspring, were considered these technically shedim, but they weren't your garden variety shedim. They were already kind of hybrids, meaning they already had an elevation in their development because they had some of Adam's characteristics, some of these divine characteristics. They're very powerful things, but they were kind of twisted and evil, but they had Adam's powers, which they did evil with. Okay? So those particular souls that were brought into the world through the union of Adam and these two, demons or whatever, okay, previous species, yet they still had some of Adam's divinity, some of his divine soul, right, which is just a piece of God, okay? So it must have been destined in some way for those particular species to be elevated, those particular individuals to be elevated in that way. Okay, so the first time that species incarnated as human beings, like full-fledged human beings, was the generation that occurred right before the flood of Noah. Okay, they're the ones who showed up and populated the world. Okay, and so essentially, let me just back up. When Adam was having these entities, right, these children, they weren't exactly fully manifest, because, and this gets a little bit complicated, Shedim, they don't have a full presence in all dimensions of the physical world. Okay, they do have, they can come and go between all the dimensions of the physical world, right? This world we call Asiya, Malchut Sheba Malchut, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they inhabit a parallel dimension. Although they can come here, they can manifest, okay, but they cannot maintain themselves physically. It's sort of like, think about a whale. Like a whale can go up, it can stay under the water, but it has to surface and take some air, and then it can go and spend time for long periods of time, but it eventually has to surface. It was kind of like that. They couldn't stay, in this metaphor, they couldn't stay underwater the whole time. They weren't like pure fish.
Yeah.
All right. It's kind of like that. Okay. So the first time they fully manifested as fully embodied human beings, it was, that generation right before the world was destroyed, where there was maximum vulgarity, maximum violence, maximum cruelty, maximum, debauchery that was going on in the world. So much so that they had to be wiped out. Okay. The next time they manifested was the Tower of Babel, I believe. Okay, but that was already an improvement, because before the flood, they were literally just killing each other, abusing each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
They weren't really attacking God directly, but it was, the way they treated each other was so horrible that it just, couldn't continue. Now, the Tower of Babel was different. Now, they were still up to no good. And this time they were out to get God, right? In their view, they wanted to depose, the divine rulership.
Yeah.
Overthrow it, in their view. However, they weren't killing each other, and they weren't really abusing each other. In fact, they were working together. They were unified. And God, that's a step up.
Yeah.
Okay. The next time they manifested were the Egyptians that were alive during when Joseph came to Egypt and began to rule.
Mhm.
And it says that Joseph told, it says literally in the text, Joseph told them to circumcise themselves. And Pharaoh told them, better listen to what Joseph said.
Yeah.
That's already a step up. You see, there's like a pattern, right? First, they were just absolute maniac, evil, the most disgusting people on earth, like kind of what you see today on the left.
Yeah.
Okay. Then at least they were kind of unified, right? The left eats each other eventually, but these people at least were kind of unified. Okay, so that's already a step up. They weren't okay. Then they were part of the Egyptian civilization that was under the influence of Joseph, and they ended up circumcising themselves. Which, for the folks at home, that's kind of like the whole idea of circumcision. Well, let me rephrase that. I can't say the whole idea. Part of the idea of circumcision is that that area of the body for men has a covering on it, right?
Yes.
But there's like you could say two hearts in man, especially males, obviously. Okay, so part of the external like extension of the heart, of the internal heart, is the sexual organ. Okay, so the real goal, and I'm sure people who are familiar with Scripture have heard this idea to circumcise their hearts. Their heart. So everybody has like this. It's allegory, but everybody has like some kind of like a very coarse covering over their heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which prevents us from experiencing God. The pathway towards circumcising the heart starts with the external aspect, circumcising that part of the body, because it makes you more sensitive. It makes you less. It's a very complicated thing. It takes a long time to explain, but it makes you less physical in a sense, because it does numb, physically speaking, it numbs sensation to a certain extent. Okay, so it makes it could make it, sexual behavior slightly less enjoyable.
Yeah.
Okay, but at the same time, it makes you more sensitive and more feeling. Right.
Yeah.
So that's part of this whole idea of circumcising the heart. So when Joseph told the Egyptians to circumcise their hearts, this was part of this like rectification of consciousness, this growing of consciousness. Okay, so they started out as basically demons, right? When they were Adam's children with these other entities, then they became human. They screwed up the world so bad it had to be destroyed.
Yeah.
Then when they remanifested, all right, they didn't screw up the whole world. They wanted to attack God, but at least they were working together. That's an improvement for God.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they became the 70 nations. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they were manifest, or many of them were manifest as the Egyptian aristocracy. Mostly the Egyptian aristocracy. Egypt was a huge country with like so many people, and don't listen to secular academics. They have no idea what the civilization of Egypt actually was. They had the slightest idea. Okay, and they had a very large, very, very technologically advanced, and the aristocracy had technology that we don't have today, or that most people are not aware of today.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one of the things that our sources say, that from the Torah tradition, that the aristocracy had technology that they were hiding. They were not letting everybody else benefit from.
Where is this? If I may ask?
Where is this specifically?
Yeah.
I need to get back to you on that.
Okay.
I definitely saw it in the sources.
Okay.
It might have even been a Rashi. It might even be a Rashi. Okay. It's one of the primary sources. It's like Rashi or somebody like really fundamental. Ibn Ezra possibly. I'm not sure. I'll get back to you. Please remind me. Okay. So and plus we see evidence of their abilities to. But anyway, the point is that Joseph became the basically facto ruler of Egypt, and he made them circumcise themselves. So there's this like progressive refinement of their consciousness of these particular beings. Okay, and so the Erev Rav, right, the specific and for the folks at home, the Erev Rav, that's the Hebrew term in the biblical Hebrew for the term the mixed multitude. If you're familiar with the Exodus story, you know that you had Jacob's children, right, that went out with the Exodus, but you also had this mixed multitude that went with them. The mixed multitude are these Egyptians who decided to go out with Israel. They saw what happened. They're like, they saw where it was at. Not all the Egyptians. Some Egyptians were like, they're kind of angry, but some of the Egyptians, the aristocracy mostly, not the whole aristocracy, but part of it.
Yeah.
They went along with Israel. They wanted to join Israel. Okay, they're the ones who caused all the trouble. There was always a mixed multitude. Okay, and by the way, they felt themselves absolutely superior.
They made themselves they christened themselves the leaders, so to speak.
Yeah, it was the mixed multitude that they essentially, when Moses was absent, they're like, obviously it's for us to take over.
Yes.
Because they were educated, right? They were rich. They were more. Remember, the Israelites. What were they? They're just slaves.
Yeah.
Right. So you had these Egyptians.
Yeah.
That decided that they were, in charge, and they're like, oh, well, let's make a golden calf. Bunch of geniuses. Okay.
To them, it's like today, if you compare it, it's like, oh, it's just a bunch of Haredim, like we're.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Bunch of Haredim, and we'll just let them live, but we're not going to make them the leaders. And God forbid the Haredim ever become the leaders. Demokratia is going to be threatened.
By the way, we made the same mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so what he's talking about is this word Haredim. That means the Orthodox Jews. The beard, black hats and beards. All right, those guys. Right.
Yeah.
So during this whole COVID thing, right? They made the same mistake as the religious people, the regular Israelites, the slaves, right? Made back in the desert with the mixed multitude. They listened, they were just like, oh, the mixed multitude, these Egyptians, they came with us, and they're so smart and they're so educated, and look at them, they're obviously the leaders, or maybe we should listen to them. So that's what some of the religious people thought. Now, they didn't get involved in building the golden calf. That was solely a mixed multitude situation, but it's like they didn't really interfere because they didn't really know what to think. Let the experts take over, right? The experts almost got the whole nation killed. Okay, God was talking to Moses saying, "I'll destroy them and start over with you." He wasn't going to do that because in reality, he wanted to hear Moses say, "If you do that, then
yeah.
Write me out of your book." Right? I believe that's in the text.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the fact that was conversation had showed that that it was problematic. The fact that they didn't intervene, right, and push back against the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, okay, who started all the problems in the desert. Okay, so. All these comedians that make jokes about like the Jews complaining in the desert, it was actually the Egyptians, if you want to be technical. Okay.
Yeah.
The complainers were mostly the Egyptians, and it makes sense because do slaves really complain? Slaves they're beaten down. They're used to being slaves. They're pretty harsh lives.
You know what's interesting to me, that Hashem made it so that if you look at, Israel today, or the Jewish nation by and large, specifically Israel, for some reason he made it so that most of the Erev today, or the descendants of the Erev today, are Ashkenazim. Happen to be part of the Ashkenazi, wing of the Jewish nation, and we know that in terms of
hold on, let me call Farrakhan, and what's that guy's name?
Dude, I'm trying to make a point. I'm not trying to Farrakhan. I'm trying to
you
say
interfered with my point, so I'm going to interfere with your point.
I'm not. I'm just trying to add to your point.
No, you didn't hear. I didn't make my point.
Okay.
My point was that the same people in the desert that listen to these experts, right, from the aristocracy,
sure,
they listen to them again,
correct,
in our time, and went to kill themselves with COVID vaccines.
I know.
That's why I just wanted to finish that one point.
Okay. But
who's that guy you like to listen to? You know, like that anti-Semite who always talks about the Khazarian mafia.
To be honest with you, I don't even know if I think he's just an idiot.
No, but what's his name? I'm trying to remember.
Cliff High.
Yeah. Go.
I actually haven't listened to him in a while.
All right.
Because it's just kind of the same old drivel.
All right.
So, for some reason, Hashem made it so that the Haskalah happened in Europe. It didn't get to. It got to some parts of the Middle East, but it really didn't take hold in the Middle East so much. And most of the people you see, at least in people of the older generation who came to Israel, and maybe even their kids, let's say people who today are like in their 60s, like you're not gonna find like too many Yemenites standing screaming Demokratia, Demokratia. If you do, it's already like these kids in their 20s, Gen Z, maybe even younger.
Yeah.
But you're just not going to find those people because there's something. I think it's very interesting that Hashem plopped the Erev Rav Neshamas into Europe, or maybe the other way around. He turned Europe into such a place that was just so happened to cultivate these or create like a breeding ground for these Erev Rav Neshamot. To acquire
most Ashkenazim though, are against the Erev Rav.
I know. Also happen to be religious. Also happen to be Hasidim and all these people, and even the Hasidic and all the I guess you want to call it yeshivot today. It's funny, like the Sephardi Jews in Israel, because they weren't let into Ashkenazi yeshivot, started dressing like Ashkenazim. And so now you have like these Sephardi Haredi guys walking around with black hats and looking like they're from Poland, which is like the funniest thing.
Crazy thing.
It's just insanity. Like so even with the European world of religious people, there's like this elitism that sucked the Sephardim in. You would think that the Sephardim would keep their own stuff and try to suck the Ashkenazim in. I don't know. It's just this funny dynamic. Now on the converse side, you have a lot of Ashkenazim who make Aliyah, or even people who, mostly Olim, who think that the authentic Israeli culture is Sephardic, meaning they like the food better than, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just this funny thing, like exchange of cultures, which actually is a beautiful thing. It just shows you that in reality, it's everything's kind of coming together. It's kibbutz galiot. It's in gathering of the exiles. But I don't know. It's just funny to me how like you're not going to find that many Iraqis, Moroccans, all the rest of them, Yemenites at these protests, and Russians also, like Russian-speaking Jews
who are Ashkenaz.
And it's crazy. Like that's something we have in common. With like Sephardim and Russian-speaking Jews, for example, that's the thing we have in common, and yet, Russian-speaking Jews, for the most part, don't go into tradition. For the most part, some do here in America, but in Israel they don't so much. They have like this aversion. So it's weird. It's like this weird thing, like. And then you have people who vote for like Avigdor Lieberman in Israel who are right wing, but don't want nothing to do with religion.
They're just low information people.
Yeah, it's like it's very the whole thing is very very strange.
Because Victor Lieberman he's not right wing anything at all. He's one of the worst.
Yeah,
like so. But you have right wing Israelis.
yeah,
who
vote for him,
who bought his bullshit.
Listen, he used to be right wing. He was a Kahana guy in college. He used to be right wing. He decided that he's gonna, him and Bibi were friends. Him and Netanyahu were friends. He decided that he doesn't, want to be friends with him anymore for whatever reasons. I mean, understandable reasons, but
you're saying he was a Kahana guy? Really?
He was, dude. I'm going to show you.
How could that be? Kahana was one of the holiest people that we've ever had, and this guy.
When I say
sold in the country,
listen to me. Do you know how many people in the Russian-speaking Jewish world are just Kahana and JDL? I mean, JDL was in America. He was in Israel. Kach. He was just people who were secular, but at the same time who followed. I'm talking about Russian speakers and also Sephardim who were secular and or traditional who follow Kahana. This is why all the people who were against Kahana in the Knesset, all the lefties, and even all the right-wing guys at the time were so afraid of Kahana. They saw where this is going. They saw that he was going to become the prime minister of Israel. Not the prime minister of Israel. He was going to be the Melech of Israel. Not Mashiach, just the Melech of the state of Israel. If that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying?
Could have been Mashiach.
Or maybe Mashiach ben Yosef. We don't know. Or a component of Mashiach ben Yosef. Or some kind of activator of Mashiach. Whatever. Some dangerous figure. Because he was a Pied Piper. Dude, I'll show you some videos. I mean, first of all, let me show you a picture of Lieberman in college. He literally is holding. There's a famous picture of him holding a Kach flag. Like marching in college, holding a Kach flag. I need to find it. I can't find it now, but you know what? 1 second. Let me do this in Hebrew, maybe. It's a very, very famous thing. This is when he was a bouncer, in clubs. He worked as a bouncer in Israel. And here. And then I'll show you some videos.
All I'm saying is that if you're really a follower of Kahana, you would have some level of respect for the Torah.
Of course you would.
Okay?
Listen.
That's why he was full of shit from day one.
The funny part is about Lieberman, I think he's full of S about the fact that he hates Torah. His wife is Haredi. His whole family is Hardal. Haredi Dati Lumi. He lives in a settlement. I mean, it's a shtick. I honestly think it's a shtick.
That's too much. That's too much shtick.
It is too much shtick. He's very cynical. He knows his constituency hates Torah, and so he's playing into the shtick. It's very cynical. It's horrible. Dude, that's even more horrible.
You're starting to sound like my dad.
No, dude, that's even worse. What he's doing is even worse than if he was just to hate Torah. It's even worse. To pretend to hate Torah because you want hundreds of thousands of people to vote for you. That's horrible. That's what he's doing. That's exactly what he's doing. I know because I know for a fact that's what he's doing.
Why can't we have anyone normal? Why can't we have anybody normal in Israel?
Because Mashiach's coming, man. That's why Hashem doesn't want us to have anyone normal anymore. He wants Mashiach. The question is, when is he going to bring him already? Here. I want to show you Rabbi Kahana.
When I say normal, I mean, why can't we have a good person?
I know. I check this out. Check out would you, after seeing this, I mean, this is from 1988 promotional campaign promo. Rabbi Meir Kahana. And this is like again, of course, people who are against. Yeah, preachers of hate, you see. Offensive material, blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is not the sport. Okay. Sure.
This isn't Israel. It's Palestine. Arabs, and more Arabs.
By the way, he's in the Muslim quarter in the Old City, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
What will happen in another 10 years? How many Arabs will be living here? In 1967, we had a golden opportunity. When we liberated the city, we could have removed them all. They expected us to slaughter them, but there was no need for physical harm. Just transfer. Out. We missed our chance. It was a serious mistake for all generations. Jerusalem, a Jewish city, the Jewish capital. But Jews are afraid to walk here today. In the evening, there are no Jews here. They're afraid. Jews are stoned and stabbed. But the Arabs are not afraid. Tell me, who are the conquerors and who are the conquered here? Will this city be Yerushalayim or Al-Quds? We have to decide now, because time is running out.
Those are all Arabs.
I know. I'm surprised they didn't lynch
behind
him.
him.
I know.
Just kind of like, they're like showing up. They're like, they're getting ready to pounce. He didn't give a shit. He was not scared of those fuckers.
No, not at all. Here, check this out. Here's another. What did he say that was wrong? Not one thing he said.
100%. But no, here's what he said that was wrong. Can I tell you what he said was wrong?
What is it?
He's like, oh, we missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
No, it's not being called missed an opportunity when it was done deliberately.
Yeah.
By the fucking Erev Rav.
Yeah. Here. Here's another video.
On any given night in Israel, in any of the major cities, in every coffee house, you will find thousands of Arabs throughout the country sitting with Jewish girls.
No,
in many cases, the Jewish girl doesn't even know that this is an Arab. The Arab Ibrahim will say to her that his name is Avi, Abraham. The Arab Musa will say that he is Moshe. And that's how it begins, and we don't even know about it, we who sit in the exile. The tragedy of Jewish girls, 4,000 Jewish women today married to Muslims. And bear in mind that in order to marry a Muslim, it means that she had to convert to Islam. 4,000 Jewish women today who converted to Islam and who are living today in our villages with their Arab husbands and their Jewish children who are Arabs. The prostitutes of Israel are overwhelmingly Jewish, and the pimps are overwhelmingly Arabs. And this is the Jewish state. For this we dreamed for 2,000 years. And the tragedy within the tragedy is that the overwhelming majority of these girls are Sephardic Jews who come from communities that for 1,500 years preserved their Jewishness in the exile. And that which the Muslims could not do to them for 1,500 years in the exile, Jews did to them in the state of Israel. Is this the kind of a state that we want? Is this the kind of a state that we are speaking about?
This is what they banned them for. And now let me show you something.
Folks, everything he said was literally true. Literally. He said everything that was true.
Yeah. But they don't care about the truth. Here. Now, I want to show you a video. I don't know if they took it down. Basically, it's about him talking about Sephardic. I think they took it down. Sephardic Jews. He basically said that the reason. Just 1 second. Like Sovietism happening. He said the reason that Sephardic Jews vote for me is because they live with Arabs, they were under Arabs, and they don't want to do this again. They don't want to go through this again. And they are the last, this is verbatim, they're the last normal people not touched by college professors. The last normal people, he said this in like the early 80s, maybe the early 80s. He already saw what's going on in universities.
Yeah.
It's astounding. Positively astounding. So they saw what's coming with him. What was coming with him. And
Folks,
see. Yeah.
I just want to say, the universities in the Western world, okay, which includes Israel, Europe, United States, Australia, New Zealand, are not centers of knowledge. They're not centers of study. They are cult compounds.
Yeah.
Can you imagine spending your hard-earned money, sending your kid to college? What an opportunity, right? Because that's what we're sold in movies and TV. Oh, you got to go to college so you can really get an opportunity. It's funny, like Elon Musk and Bill Gates, son of a bitch, they're both dropouts.
Yeah.
But these places are, you're paying them,
Mm-hmm.
and or your kids are going into slavery, right? Loan slavery. They're enslaving themselves to be turned into a Gnostic cultist, just a brain dead retard zombie. Like an emotional ninny, totally incontinent, like out of control. Like losing their humanity, right? Losing their own mind, losing their own thought process, losing their beauty. Normally, if they're girls, cutting their fucking tits off. Okay, that's what's happening now. All right, that's college, folks. You know what I mean? Like those places are not. Like, you know what? Think about it like this. Let's say you have an enemy nation, China, for instance, right?
Yeah.
And this is, aside from the fact that this is literally true, I was going to use it as a metaphor, but then I started laughing because it actually happened. They literally have a Chinese police station, and a secret police station in New York. A Chinese. Why does China have a
I have no idea.
Official police station in New York? Okay. Anyway, the point is that imagine you have an enemy nation that sets up recruitment camps for soldiers, for them, in your country.
Yeah.
And they take your kids. Why aren't the universities burning?
I don't know. Not sure.
They're not
Not sure.
providing a service. They're destroying your children and our country.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Let me read this article about Kahana, 1988. How they,
And when I say burning, here's what I mean. I'm sorry, I have to, because when I'm, they're looking for any reason to persecute anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's why they should be burning. Because they've been abandoned. The campuses have been abandoned, and they've been inhabited by squatters and crackheads who, they just get stupid and they accidentally burn the whole campus down because it's been abandoned, and it's, and it just like burns to the ground from neglect and from people like that. All right, continue.
So here's an article, Los Angeles Times, 1988, October 19th, 1988. The highest court in Israel on Tuesday upheld a ban on Rabbi Meir Kahana's anti-Arab political party, anti-Arab. It's pro-Jewish, prompting the fiery Kahana to lash out at his political opponents and to forecast the destruction of the Israeli state. Okay. In a separate decision, the Supreme Court also ruled that the Progressive List for Peace, an Arab-Jewish party that favors talks with the Palestinian Liberation Organization, can run despite objections that is dedicated to ending Jewish domination of the country. By the way, the Supreme Court in 1984 said that banning Kahana, there was no law on the books. They actually ruled in favor of Kahana. And he ended up he was the only member from his party. That's when they allowed one person from a party. The threshold was much lower to get in at that time. The decision in Kahana's Kach party to put it out of November 1st elections and scrambled the picture on the political right. Several parties are in line to pick up the Kach votes and acquire additional seats in the 120-member Knesset or Parliament. One seat in 1984. Independent political observers estimate that Kahana might have won up to 4 seats in the election. Kahana won the single seat in his party his party has at present in 1984. His popularity has increased with the failure of the government's efforts to put down the Arab uprising in the West Bank and Gaza Strip that broke out last December. Kahana, 56, holds that Jewish law and history authorized the expulsion of Arabs not only from the occupied territories but also from Israel proper, where about 800 at that time 800,000 Arabs live as citizens. Now it's about 2 million, 1.5 million. He routinely refers to Arabs with racist slurs. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
He never did.
Never did, ever.
Total lie.
And insists that if he is racist, so is Judaism. Okay. Just as Menachem Elon tersely turned down Kahana's appeal of a Central Elections Committee ruling that banned his party on the grounds that it is racist and anti-democratic. In a statement explaining their decision, the justices said that the aims of Kach and its actions are racist and it seeks to violently deny the rights of segments of the population. No, it doesn't. At a news conference later, maybe the people that followed Kahana, who lived with Arabs, whose parents and grandparents lived with Arabs, would get physical. Kahana himself never posed that.
No.
At a news conference later, Kahana, who was born in the United States, hinted that his followers could turn to violence. What the court did was to compel Jews to choose the road of anarchy and rebellion, which is what he didn't want. As the state crumbles, and it will, tragically, people will turn to us and we will take over. Voila, ta-da! 2023, 2022. Leaders of both major political parties praised the decision. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Yitzhak Shamir, who heads the rightist Likud bloc, said that democracy must defend itself. Foreign Minister Shimon Peres, who held the centrist labor alignment, said Israel has no room for racist movements. Israeli civil rights groups also hailed the ruling. The ADL, Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith in America, called it a triumph for democracy and decency. Kahana,
the ADL and the B'nai B'rith are not Jewish organizations. Continue.
No. Kahana, who founded the Brooklyn-based Jewish defense leagues, like to defend Jews on the streets, scolded his political rivals, notably Shamir, for ending his campaign and advised his followers to boycott the election. Likud will pay. You know that Shamir does not care about racism. He cares about seats. Yes. The race is considered close. And by the way, Shamir was one of the people, thought of as like a person who would say, he would tell American presidents no all the time. And he fought, two-state solution and all that stuff. But, yeah. The race is considered close, but Likud stands to gain from the Kahana ruling. No party in Israel's history has ever won a majority of the Knesset seats in an election. The country has always been ruled by a coalition, and this is not expected to change as a result of this election. Yeah, there's never been a straight-up mandate of one party. The party that gets a plurality will be given a chance to form a coalition government. If some of Kahana's support goes to other rightist parties, Likud, which is a slight overall favorite, may find it easier to form a coalition. The Tchia party, which favors annexation of the occupied West Bank and Gaza, and the Moledet party, which campaigns on a platform of removing Arabs from occupied land. It's so funny. Moledet became what Naftali Bennett's party was early on, 10 years ago. And they also held that, all these parties, all these, quote-unquote, Dati Leumi parties, religious Zionist parties, they all wanted to remove Arabs from the West Bank. All of them at that time, not just Kahana, and they want to ban Kahana.
When you're done reading, I don't want to get too far off.
There's one more part. There's one literally more, 3 more sentences.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know
what you just said, right? Yeah. Just keep that in mind, the Dati Louis. I just want to read something after you're done. Of somebody, there's a Palestinian that reached out to me today.
Okay. Campaigns and platform of moving Arabs are considered possible partners. No major party is likely to seek the progressive list as a coalition ally because it stands on talks with the PLO. The party, which is trying to expand its Knesset delegation from 2 to 3, represents what Kahana detests perhaps most of all, the possibility that Arab citizens of Israel may affect through their votes life in what is defined as a Jewish state. We have anywhere between 10 to 15 Arab Knesset members at any given time for the past however many years. Dude, give me 1 second. I apologize. Just give me 1 second. Hello?
Take two.
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Maybe some Sovietism occurring, folks. We don't know. We'll see.
Sorry about that. Dude, your connection is like blurry for some reason.
Mine?
Yeah. You look very blurry.
You seem a little choppy. I
Really?
seem. Yeah, I'm like, for once, I'm like moving okay.
I don't know. Hold on a second. Hopefully this won't. I don't want to screw around with the connection. I don't know why it's so. Connection is unstable. If you're on Wi-Fi, try plugging your router. Move closer to it.
It's the Erev Rav. They're jamming
Hold on a
us. Are you frozen, dude?
Oh, is that
I
better?
think you were frozen there for a minute.
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you do something when you went away?
I went to 5G.
Oh,
Wi-Fi.
well, that's what it was then.
Now we're gonna be have chips implanted in us. What's it called? So yeah, that's essentially what that was with Kahana. And so they targeted Kahana. I mean, again, there was a bunch of other parties. It's just like what I spoke about yesterday. There's other people who want to do the same thing, but you target one guy.
The one guy, folks, who was actually saying the unfiltered truth.
Yeah.
And he wasn't saying anything hateful. He never said a disrespectful word about Arabs. All he did was literally say, report it. He was the one. If you want to know what a journalist should be, it's listen to Rabbi Meir Kahana. He's a journalist is supposed to report the facts.
Yeah.
Right? What are the facts? They're not supposed to be opinion shapers.
Yeah.
Or they can be an opinion shaper after they've delivered the facts, the objective facts. Okay. And then they could tell you what they make out of it. Okay. So that we don't have that. We haven't had that. I don't know how long. I don't know if we ever had that. Okay. But we had that with Rabbi Meir Kahana. Okay. And they killed him.
Yeah.
The one guy who's telling the truth as it really, so they killed him. I can almost. I mean, I don't have, just my intuition tells me it was the Israeli government that killed him.
I think the time of when Kahana was saying all these things, I think that was the beginning of kind of the world or not just leftists, but people not being able to handle, not only handle the truth, not being able to actually acknowledge the truth on the political scene. Like today we have now it's like an what is it called, a post-truth era. I think that was the beginning of the post-truth era. You literally can't say things as they are. God forbid you come out and say things literally like whatever you see in front of, whatever everybody sees, that this wall is white, and you come and say that this wall is white, this wall is, I don't know, off bone. He's saying what everybody can see in front of their face. That's happening. He's not saying Arabs are this. He's not saying Arabs are that. He's not saying this. He's not saying, oh, Jews are here and Arabs are here. He's not making any statements of supremacy. He's not, walking around with, those measuring devices, measuring people's heads. He's not doing anything. that I'm saying, he's not doing anything that Himmler, Mengele, he's not doing any of that stuff. God forbid. He's just saying how it is. These people are trying to kill us. They don't acknowledge that this is our homeland. They have 20 other homelands. For some reason, they never wanted a state until we came back. And for some reason, they want the homeland that we have, only because we have it. There's a problem here. It's either us or them. Like, clearly we see that. That's all he said. That's all he said.
By the way, I think that, the shitty aristocracy of the secular Israelis left, right? That were embedded like ticks in the in these very key positions in government, right? They decided, I believe that they decided to begin the demolition of Israel as a country around the time of Kahana. Because they saw him, that when they saw him gaining in popularity, I mean, they had already worried. They already been worried because the demographics of Israel were mostly religious or at least not anti-religious or somewhat traditional Jewish people with basic values, right? With basic morality. And that's not the socialist utopia that this like minority of pricks wanted Israel to become, right? So they realized, this is our dream of a socialist secular utopia, isn't going to happen. So it's time to start, dismantling this project. And I think that they kicked it into high gear when Kahana almost came to power, which would have been a tremendous blessing to Israel and to the world and to the Arabs, by the way.
Yeah.
Because you have the leadership of the Arabs that are essentially working together with the leadership of Israel, because they're part of the same cult. This is not, people don't know this, but they're essentially part of the same cult. They're Gnostic fruitcakes, okay?
Yeah.
And they're using low information, uneducated, emotional mini Arabs, right? To start riots and to get all the way the Arab leadership are using their own people is the way that, the left is using Antifa. Who's Antifa? It's a bunch of homeless kids. Right, a bunch of druggies, okay, and that's what useful idiots is the idea, okay. So both sides are using useful idiots, okay, to create this political weather, okay, political turmoil, and so they're suffering, right? If you had Kahana come and just tell everybody the truth, which he always did, okay, then people would stop being victim to the Gnostic fruitcakes, and they would stop being led to these horrible, situations, like lemmings getting, led off a cliff. Okay, so the Arabs would have benefited from it too.
Can I play a couple of poignant videos of Kahana saying, I just want to play this for the folks at home. I want people to, and it's so incredible. Like he was let's listen. This is him when he was debating Dershowitz at I think it was Queens College or Brooklyn College. I don't remember. 1985, I believe.
We are faced with a problem.
Stop it.
And that problem is,
folks, for those of us just joining us, especially if you're not Jewish, I want you to look at this man, Rabbi Meir Kahana, and then look at Dershowitz.
I don't know if they're going to show him in this clip, but I can show you other clips with him.
Look at the difference between a man and a whatever you want to call, a Dershowitz.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a lion of a man. This is a rabbi.
Yeah.
we are faced with a problem, and that problem is the contradiction between Zionism, between Judaism on the one hand, and Western democracy on the other hand.
Oh, okay. So they're trying to make him look bad here.
Well, of course they are. There'd never be anything positive on YouTube about
the question isn't, are there good Arabs or bad Arabs? I think it's contempt for the Arab
I just wanted to
state that a good Arab will accept living in the state of Israel. What Arab wants to live in a state which defines itself legally, de jure, as the Jewish state?
Okay.
What Arab in Israel? What citizen of Israel? What Arab citizen of Israel stands up every morning and thinks of the fact that his national anthem, Hatikva, speaks such words as Nefesh Yehudi Homiya, the soul of a Jew yearns? What Arab can sing those words?
In another video, I can't find it, but he says, you have such contempt for the Arabs that you would want them to sing that.
No, he didn't. He didn't want them to sing that.
No. He said that the people who want them to sing that have such contempt for the Arabs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That they want them to sing
what he's saying, folks, is the same thing. That, I mean, if you want to, I'm not comparing them, God forbid, but like Malcolm X said about white liberals. right? Or what some very, very intelligent black people today are noticing about white liberals, that they only seemingly care about black people as pets. They don't actually care, and white liberals are the biggest bigots.
Yeah, the biggest racists ever.
It's called the racism of low expectations.
The bigotry of low expectation. Yeah.
Okay, that's exactly what he's saying here. Anyway,
let me play for you now. There's something called, basically, that most people don't know this, that let's assume that a person from Al Qaeda killed Kahana, right, who was a follower of the blind sheikh, right? Let's assume that it wasn't the Mossad. So
I think it was an Arab that did it. I think that the Mossad helped it along a little bit.
So he is known, Kahana is known as the first victim of Al Qaeda in America. So here's a thing very interesting thing, sequence from, I think this was in History Channel, if I'm not mistaken, or Britannica, I'm not sure where this was shown. There.
Personal humiliation.
Yeah, History Channel.
That led him to become the #1 terrorist in the world.
For bin Laden, the U.S. troops massing in the desert are living proof that the United States is the great infidel, and that all U.S. allies in the Middle East are enemies of Allah. Yeah. He begins to spread the word to his followers that the Saudi royal family must be overthrown. At the same time, bin Laden's far-flung jihad network is roaring to life.
Kind of looks like Obama.
New York, November 5th, 1990. This 34-year-old Egyptian named El Said Nosser dons the yarmulke of an observant Jew and pockets a .357 Magnum revolver. Nosser belongs to the Al Farouk Mosque in Brooklyn, a top jihad outpost in the U.S. Nosser enters a ballroom at this Midtown Manhattan hotel.
Marriott Marquis.
Rabbi Meir Kahane, head of the tiny but violent Jewish Defense League, is finishing a speech to his followers. As Kahane steps down from the podium, Nosser pulls out the gun, fires twice, and a fatal shot enters the rabbi's throat.
By the way, man,
Nosser flees the hotel, but an armed postal officer shoots him, and police arrest him.
An armed postal officer?
Largely for law enforcement. The killing of...
It was... I know, I met a guy in Israel who was a paramedic, who was a Hatzalah guy, and he told me that Kahana died in his arms. And this guy, he works, I'm not going to say his name, he works in high tech in Tel Aviv, and he says that he's like, I agree with everything Rabbi Kahana said. I cannot speak about him among my colleagues in Israel. I can't tell them where I was. I can't tell them anything about this. I have to just be completely clandestine about my feelings. So that's where we're at.
Kahana was portrayed as one crazy Arab killing one crazy Jew. That wasn't the case.
Yeah.
We all now realize that was really the first major incident on U.S. soil that the radical Islamists conducted, the ones that we currently know today as Al-Qaeda.
FBI and police searched Nosser's home here in Cliffside Park, New Jersey. They find more than 1,000 rounds of ammunition, bomb-making formulas, U.S. military...
I shouldn't say this, but I wish we still had the Sakari.
Yes.
Just fucking murdering these fucks.
They haul 47 boxes of this material to this police precinct. It's a treasure trove of intelligence.
I wonder where he would get all that stuff.
The DA, the NYPD, the FBI.
You know?
Same way the FBI.
While the FBI investigates some systems.
While the FBI investigates themselves.
suspicious individuals at the Al Farouk Mosque,
Yeah.
they do not investigate the mosque itself.
Of course they don't.
So they fail to establish that the mosque
They didn't
is
fail
being
nothing.
They didn't
used as
fail
a
anything.
front
Yeah.
by a terrorist cell with connections to bin Laden and his growing jihad network.
The FBI at that time was working under a very tight set of guidelines,
Unbelievable.
which made it extremely difficult to collect information inside any kind of religious organization, and certainly any church or mosque.
All it took was that people in the FBI and the CIA to do their job and talk to each
Oh,
other
really? Wow.
and connect the dots and share the intelligence. If that had happened on the road to 9/11, it wouldn't have happened.
See, this is what they did. This is what they used and fomented on purpose to say, oh, the CIA and the FBI don't communicate and we have a problem. So now let's make a law where the CIA and the FBI the Patriot Act. Part of the Patriot Act is the CIA and the FBI communicate. All they could have done is just made a law for that. They didn't need to do the whole Patriot Act where we have to take our shoes off.
I don't know about the Patriot Act, but I know who played a huge role in creating interagency communication after 9/11.
Yeah.
Christopher Mellon.
Yeah. Interesting.
The guy, yeah, that guy. That's
Beautiful
the
guy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But I want to ask you, what was the date
next step on the
when
road to
Robert
9/11
died?
will be a casual
What?
conversation between.
What?
What was the date?
Oh, I think it was 18th of Heshvan. Is your site. I'll tell you in a second. A lot
What
of.
date? What was the English day?
I'll tell you in a second. It was November something. I remember this. Actually, this thing I remember to my parents were very, very sad when they found. Hold on. It was in the evening actually. It was November 5th, 1990. November
So
5th.
less than November 5th, 1990. 11 years later, 9/11 happened.
Yeah. It was Parshas Hayasara, by the way. Where everybody goes to Hebron and stuff. It's crazy.
Two boyhood friends.
I mean, it goes on to talk about 9/11 and all this other stuff. Whatever.
Yeah, let's continue the episodes. Can you go to Twitter for a moment?
Okay. All right, I'm on Twitter. Okay.
If you can go to my replies, like there's this. If you could just, can you share it? Just curious.
Yes, I'm saying. Okay.
Just thought this was a strange day. Yeah, continue. That's not mine. I don't know what that is.
It's an ad. It's an ad.
I know. I'm just saying. People gonna think I posted that.
Yeah.
Assholes. Okay. Continue.
Oh, this thing, Hunter Biden,
No. I want to play that, but
no.
Hold on.
Gnostic cult. This thing, no.
No. Well,
Brother.
yeah, there it is. There. See, look. No. You just got it. Palestinian American. Hold on.
Where? What?
I don't know, dude. You just saw it. Jumped around a little bit.
It's below your brother's video. Where?
There it is. Right there. Palestinian.
Oh, Palestinian American prayer too. Okay, and he posted this. Oh wow.
Yeah, but and this is not the first time. But hold on. Click on his profile.
Interesting. Is he a Christian or something like that?
Just click on the profile and read the description.
I'm trying to hold on. I have to share a different. Yeah.
No. You okay?
Palestinian American America Firster. I love this country, its history, its culture, and its people. I despise commies, Marxists, and Zionists.
Okay, now go back. I want to show you my response to him.
Okay, 1 second.
I'm sure it was very disappointing.
I hate Marxists and commies too. I'm a Zionist in the true sense of the word. I'm a Zionist just like King David. And he
didn't respond.
He did not respond because he's confused. He's like, "What is this?" No, because his pinned tweet is, "We need a new declaration of independence. This time from political Zionism. Time to break away." What does that mean?
Where are you reading that?
No, this is on his page. So he thinks that Zionists, again, which is Erev, it's not Zionists, owns, he says, executive captured, legislative captured, judicial captured, intelligence captured, military captured, media captured, big tech captured, banking captured.
By the way, nobody's seeing what you're reading.
This.
Okay.
Banking corporations captured, healthcare captured. Time to break away and build our own institutions. So
yeah, we know. No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to this guy. Like, yeah, I know. So,
yeah. So listen, there is no right of return, dipshit. Plus, we're from the West Bank. Furthermore, my loyalties are to this country, unlike dumb traitors Zionists. This guy.
And he still calls himself a Palestinian, by the way. There's no such thing, by the way. That's a lie in itself.
Dude, this world is getting turning into an oatmeal.
I just want to tell you that I noticed that like people there are some people that follow me here and there that have like the Palestinian flag and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the reason I think, is because they've heard my brother say things about like Netanyahu and some people in the Israeli government, and then they go ahead and assume that he's anti-Israel government. Or he's anti-Israel. They want to, they want to associate him with the Neturei Karta, like those, those fakers who dress up like Hasidic Jews, and then they go and protest with Arabs, with Palestinians. Okay,
for sure.
Costume shops are making a lot of money. Okay,
yeah.
So I just wanted to clear something up. My brother was very much in support of Jews living in Israel with a Jewish government.
Yeah.
Okay. If anybody's confused about that, that doesn't mean he has to like the people who are running it.
Yeah.
Okay. But he ain't what you think he is. Okay. So don't try to misrepresent, and don't try. If you got it twisted, get it untwisted.
Sure.
I thought that was important to mention.
Untwist your panties, as we say. Don't get them in a bunch. Yeah. I don't know.
That thing's really frustrating, man.
So it seems like, man, they're trying to like push this whole Hunter Biden thing.
Can you hold on, because this is related to what you just said. I sent you that video of Bush when he found out about 9/11.
Oh yeah.
Can you please? I want to know what the folks at home make of this. This sent like shivers down my spine.
It's actually crazy, yeah. Yeah, let's see.
Somebody explain this to me, please.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look. I don't know. Take a look.
And by the way, we got to take a look at this guy's like Twitter profile, because he keeps pointing out the craziest crap.
Oh, this guy, yeah. There's also a guy called Dr. Keck. Dr. Keck. No, he's the guy that like posts all the Pizzagate things on Twitter.
He was showing like
he's resurrecting
I saw the day before this. Aside from this, I saw the day before yesterday. He was showing like a video of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and she looked animatronic.
Yeah,
and they were like, they were really nervous. They're like, "Oh shit, do people realize she's a robot or something like that?" It was crazy. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So this is obviously the famous thing of Bush sitting in the school. But this is actually something that was cut out.
Yeah. For the folks at home, this is when Bush found out that the towers were hit.
Yeah.
Tower 1.
Quote unquote found out.
Yeah.
Get ready to read all these words on this page without making a mistake. Look at the letter at the end and remember the sound it makes. Get ready. Kite. Yes, kite. Get ready to read this word the fast way. Get ready. Kid. Yes. Sound it out. Get ready. Kid. Sound it out. Get ready. Kid. What word? Kid. Yes, kid. Boys and girls, sound this word out. Get ready. Steal. What word? Steal. Yes, steal. Read these words the fast way. Get ready. Play. Yes, play. Get ready. Must. Yes, must. Let's read these words the fast way without making a mistake.
Must steal?
Get ready. Kite. Yes, kite. Get ready. Kit. Yes, kit. Get ready. Steal. Yes, steal. Get ready. Play. Yes, playing. Get ready. Must. Yes, must. Boys and girls, pick your reader up from under your seat. Open your book up to lesson 60 on page 153.
There, he's being told now. Right?
So weird.
At the count of 3, everyone should be on page 153. If the yellow paper is going to bother you, drop it. Thank you. Everybody touch the title of your story. Fingers under the title. Get ready to read the title, The Fast Way. We're waiting for one member. Thank you. Fingers under the title of the story. Get ready.
Go, cat, go.
Yes, the cat go. Fingers under the first word of the story. Get ready to read the story the fast way. Get ready.
Go, girl, cat, go, cat, go.
Go on.
She likes to go running with her.
She's like pretending to.
Go on.
She plays with her tail.
Try it again. Get ready from the beginning of that sentence. Get ready.
She plays with her goat in her house.
Go on.
She plays with her goat in her yard.
Good job. Go on.
But the goat did something that made the girl sad.
Let's clean that up. Get ready. Travel with butt. Get ready.
But the goat did something that made the girl sad mad.
Go on.
The goat ate things.
Go on.
He ate cans and he ate eggs.
Try that again. Get ready.
He ate cans and he ate cake.
Good job. Go on.
He ate cans and he ate cake.
Go on.
He even ate cows and cats.
Try that again. Get ready.
He even ate pigs and cats.
Good job. Go on.
One day her dad said, that goat must go.
What's behind the word said?
Comma.
And what does that comma mean?
Go back.
Let's read that sentence again. Get ready.
One day her dad said, that goat must go.
Go on.
He ate too many things.
Try that again. Go on.
He ate
What is that word? Sound it out. What word? Start from the beginning of that sentence. Go on.
He eats too many things.
Go on.
The girl said,
What's behind the word said?
comma.
And what does that comma mean?
Go back.
Let's read that sentence again. Go on. Let's start from the girl.
The girl said, that if you let the goat stay with us, I will see that he got eat all.
Nice and loud, crisp voices. Let's go.
Her and we will try it.
Go on.
So the goat stayed and the girl made him stop eating cans and pigs and cows and pigs.
Good job. That was a mouthful. Turn your page. Let's go.
But
From the beginning. Fingers under the first word. Let's go.
one day her car robber came to the girl's house.
Go on.
He saw a big red car near the house and said, I will steal that car.
Go on.
He ran to the car and started to open the door.
Go on.
The girl and the goat were playing in the backyard.
Go on.
They did not see the
Why is he zooming in on these little girls?
car to come.
What'd you say?
Saying, why is the cameraman zooming in on these little girls?
I don't know. I don't know.
Does that mean more to come? That's exactly right. These are great readers.
Yes, they are.
Very impressive. Thank you all so very much for showing me your reading skills. I bet they practiced it, don't you?
Oh, yes. That's a requirement. Homework. Reading homework.
Reading more than they watch TV?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Anybody do that? Read more than you watch TV? Oh, that's great. Very good. Very important to practice. Thanks for having me. Very
fasten those close your readers. Place them under your chairs. And thank you so much for your
Thank you, President. You can step out the door, please.
Okay, can you read the captions? Can you read with the post?
It says George Bush Jr. on September 11, 2001, being told the second World Trade Center tower had been hit in 5 minutes that followed. The 5 minutes that followed. They were reading a book called The Pet Goat. Listen to what seems like a chant. This is the real video that Fahrenheit 9/11 edited. I guess it sounds like a chant, or it seems like...
It was really bizarre.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
It's just, I don't know. Like, what do you folks think? I mean,
I don't know. I personally don't know what to make of it.
It's like, you know, they're reading something called The Pet Goat, you know, which obviously has like that kind of like satanic, you know, if you want to interpret it that way, right?
Yeah.
And then they, you know, you could see the look on his face. Like, does that look like, supposedly he had been told that the first tower was hit. Does that look like the face of a man concerned that his country is under attack?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that weird reading. I don't know. It seems like what the hell was that? You know?
Yeah.
Does that look normal? Does that look normal to anybody?
I really don't know. It doesn't. I feel like we've been in some weird movie for the past 20 years. That's what I feel like. You ask me. I told you this. We've been in a Tom Clancy novel. At least for the last 30 or if not 60 years. So I don't really know what to make of it. This is the thing, like you have this Palestinian guy following you because of your brother's stuff, but then he, you know, we just live in a there's no like rhyme or reason anymore. There's no like you can't. This is what I told that guy that we interviewed us. That guy Amihai. I said you can't. You got to stop thinking in baskets, man. People have to stop thinking in baskets.
You mean in categories, right?
Categories and baskets, yeah. They stop putting everything. You know, if you think this, then you must think that. It's just we know that that's BS. Clearly, I mean, you know, the prime example is the guy, you know, the lefty guy in Israel who's against the narrative, but he talks about the two-state solution. He talks about all this stuff, and like the media is trying to do it, but we see that that's not the case.
You know what that guy reminds me of? You're talking about Avi Barak, right?
Yeah.
He's like, you know, that chick who's like, she's a good chick, but she just keeps like making the same mistake over and over again with losers that she ends up like, you know, they always beat her, you know?
Yeah.
Like she always goes out with guys that beat the crap out of her and just treat her like garbage. And she just like has no, like, and she's a nice girl, right? And you want to help her, right? And it's sort of like, you know, like what's wrong with you? It's an emotional addiction.
Yeah.
That people, a lot of the things that people are with or are into are emotionally addicted to it.
Yeah.
Right? You can be emotionally addicted to stupid things, to negative things, harmful things, you know? It's like Sharon Stone's character in Casino. Yeah, she kept going back to Lester, the first guy who turned her out.
Yeah.
When she was a kid.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty profound idea. Not to pat myself on the back, but a lot of people, again, a lot of the stuff that people are, a lot of the conflict that we have is because of emotional addiction to sides. Instead to like your tribe, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't mean like literally. I mean just like, your fellow Boston Red Sox fans, you know, you're just addicted to.
See, this guy writes about this Hunter Biden thing. It's a prime example of what you're talking about. I'm tired of seeing Hunter Biden's private photos. It is so irrelevant. Who cares if Hunter had a drug addiction in the past? Who cares if he had intercourse with prostitutes? Who cares if he swam without clothes on? Who cares if he slept with multiple women? Why are people so upset?
What about him in bed with his 14-year-old niece?
Yeah, for 14-year-old niece. This guy, he just ignored. Like, why are people so obsessed with private photos that were immorally released of him? They were immorally released of him. It's not like he's doing immoral acts. They were immorally released. How would you like it if this happened to you or to a friend of your kids? The people behind the release of these photos are the ones who need to evaluate themselves from a moral standpoint and potentially a legal standpoint. And then this guy writes, translation, who cares if he uses illegal drugs and has no repercussions like everyone else? Who cares if he has intercourse with women who are sexually trafficked? Who cares if he has pictures of naked minors on his phone? Who cares if he illegally obtained a gun? Who cares if he illegally discarded the illegally obtained gun? He's a white man who's the son of a Democratic president. This means he gets to do whatever he wants without any consequences. This is fair. And he's being sarcastic. No accountability or responsibility is a good thing. It's Gnostic fruitcakery, man.
Yeah.
They know and you don't. They know and you don't. Get to do stuff and you don't.
I actually responded. You know, like there's this one Dr. Lupus.
Yeah.
So you know, she posted something about him, and I'm like, you know, like she usually says like, why isn't Hunter in jail? And I wrote because he's. Let me just read the comment. I'm not gonna ask you to look for it. I just want to read it quickly.
Yeah.
I think we should stop, by the way, in like 4.5 minutes, because that'll be like 1 minute and 56 seconds, and that'll be up for episode 156.
Oh, that's funny.
Which is, and why is 156 important? Because 156 is Gematria Yosef. Wow. And I'm exhausted, and it just seems to be all coming together.
It's fine, man.
This will be a short one, but it's potent. It's dense and it's potent.
It's like EGCG, you know?
No, EGCG I think is the weakest of them. You're talking about
like one little pill, you get a lot of green tea. Here you go.
Oh yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. It's concentrated.
Yeah. No, dude, we talked about Kahana. That's enough in and of itself. Here you go.
So, yes. And by the way, buy Z-Stack.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if you think I'm just trying to sell you something, and which means you're not going to buy Z-Stack, then buy it elsewhere, but have the ingredients.
I have no financial helic in this, by the way. I'm just showing people what they should buy.
Just if you don't trust me, just go buy quercetin, zinc, vitamin D, and vitamin C, and take it. You can take it from. I don't care if you buy it from Hunter Biden. Actually, no. You probably shouldn't buy it from him. Just make sure that you have real ingredients. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we have 3 minutes to finish this episode.
Yeah. So Dr. Anastasia Maria, she says, she's big on Twitter. I don't know how she gets it. Why is he always filming? Meaning Hunter Biden, right?
Yeah.
He's showing that. Why is he always filming? And why hasn't he been locked up?
Yeah.
So I wrote, because he's a Gnostic cultist. I'm serious. To understand these people, you all have to read Plato's Republic and learn about Plato's religious beliefs. McCarthy is the same nasty shit.
Mm-hmm.
They all are. I'm saying that because of Madison Hawthorne, you know, that right? We have no representation. DC is 100% run by Gnostic fruitcakes. I'm surprised that this comment got any attention. It got some attention though.
Yeah.
This one Chinese guy, he's like, it's Jesuits. Everything's Jesuits.
No, but he was using one example. Yeah.
No, this guy is like, Jesuits are beyond. Dude, we have to do a Jesuit episode.
Yeah.
And we have to do a Rudolf Steiner episode. Like, when are we going to do it already?
We will.
All right.
Let's do it.
And for the caption for this particular video, we need like a UFO with boobs. Okay. Because those are the two things that people are going to click on the most. Okay. Folks, we're trying to figure out how to get this show.
They're going to click on this one because I put Handmaid's Tale people, the ladies with the Israeli flags. It's good enough.
Oh my God, that people are not going to want to see that. That infuriates people.
Or they're going to be curious. What's this about? How about that? By the way, 900 views from the Memorial Day episode. Congratulations. You think we'll hit 1,000?
We'll see. Folks, can you send us money? Obviously, you see we're not in ideal circumstances here.
Yeah.
We'd like to make a better show for you with a better setting and probably better streaming software. And for the folks just tuning in, I had this idea to get these special buttons made. And when I press the button, Joe Pesci shows up on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. And Gary Oldman and people of that nature.
Yeah.
So please help us out. Send your contributions. He's going to put the link to buy me coffee, right?
Yeah.
That means it says buy me a coffee. You can buy us coffee, but we're not gonna use the money.
Each coffee is $5.
Yeah, and we're not going to use the money for coffee. Right. That being said, and we usually go for like 3-4 hours, but I wasn't feeling well today, and it's getting a little bit late. And he had a long day. He flew,
I was on a plane today.
He flew home today, so
it was a 1.5-hour flight, but it's still or a 2-hour flight.
But just being in an airport, going through that whole thing.
The whole thing is like if you think about it, like if you were trying to fly to DC from New York,
can you finish this thought in 30 seconds?
What?
Can you finish this thought in 30 seconds?
Yeah, you might as well drive because the whole ordeal is 4 hours. The drive is 4 hours. The whole thing to airport flight from the airport is 4 hours. So you might as well drive, and it's cheaper to drive, even with the gas prices.
I'd rather, I always rather drive.
Yeah. All right, sir.
This is our shortest one.
Peace in the Middle East.